Welcome back to the Final Podcast, people. I am Javon, and this is another edition of the Sideline View. Before I introduce anybody, before we get started, please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified on when I upload a new video. New things coming to the channel, new episodes coming to the channel, and a little bit of football talk. Summer transfer window is going. Time for that dopamine hit. But we have the boys in the building, and we have a special guest. Younes has decided to join us. Welcome to the Gulag, Younes. Stand up. Younes,
Gulag.
What's going on?
Glad to be here. No, thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to this.
Great. Marshall, what's going on, bro?
Not much, man. We just watched football win this season. I'm really happy to see PSG won and how everything turned out this season for all the teams involved in major tournaments. And yeah, man, I'm ready for the show. I'm ready to talk about Chelsea, man.
Most definitely. And Robert, the man that likes to rattle souls on Twitter. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm happy that toxic positivity won. And into the summer. With an upbeat spirit, so up the chest. Let's do this.
Up the chest. And I've hinted this on a few channels. This is going to be part one of our season review, and we are going to start the season in preseason and in the July transfer, the summer transfer window of last year. That summer transfer window saw us brought in not Osimhen, but we'll get to that. We brought in Joao Felix, KDH, and a bunch of youngsters. I'm drawing a blank, and I don't know why. Anyone want to help you?
There was a lot. There was a lot.
Yeah. We brought in Tosin. We retained Badiashile and Disasi, which I thought we should have gotten rid of. How did you guys feel about our transfer window? And bear in mind, I know hindsight is a hell of a thing, but take your mind back then, and let's talk about it, knowing what we know now. So I'll start with the guest, Younes. How did you feel about our January transfer window going into the season?
Summer window, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, summer window.
Yeah. I was about to say, because January is a whole different discussion. But with... no, I'll be honest. We didn't have Champions League football. So I was quite desperate to go in and get quality to try and up the levels around here at least. I personally was, at the end of the window, quite flattened and disappointed overall with the window. There was some sign... Well, I say that. There were a couple of signings there at that moment, if I'm trying to take my mind back, that I was like, oh, you know what? That might have saved things a little bit.
The Neto signing.
Huh?
The Neto signing. I think that's what did it first.
Exactly, yeah. Neto. Neto made me feel good. I was like, okay, good, decent standard that we've brought in here. In a position that we were lacking in, and that deal was done really quietly. There was nothing to it. All of a sudden, boom, it's done. I'm like, okay, nice. Felix at that time, at least I thought there would be a chance he'd come in and do something pretty good, at least considering his first stint at the club. And Sancho, I wasn't against. I was like, okay, fair enough. We'll move with this. This is someone that might have a big impact because we've seen the type of player he can be. So those were the signings that kind of, I say, quote unquote, saved the window for me. Everything else, I was like, what are we doing? Specifically like Dewsbury Hall, I did not understand that one at all, except for the logic at that time, bringing Maresca in, thinking, okay, maybe he needs someone that's going to understand how he works because he was working with him at Leicester. But I still didn't get it because Dewsbury Hall, when you're looking Chelsea Football Club, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. But this is also looking into the fact that we weren't playing Champions League, Conference League. We knew there'd be heavy rotation for the Conference League, which in the end did happen, A-team, B-team. So in that regard, considering it kind of worked, I would say. But yeah, looking forward into this window, we have to take a different approach. But that was my thoughts going into the end of that summer window. Neto, Felix and Sancho, for me, helped kind of save the window for what it was worth a little bit.
Yeah, and Marshall, when it comes on to what Younes just said, for me, while I did get a bit of dopamine hit from Neto because I've always liked Neto, and I saw what Jadon Sancho did the previous season in Champions League. I'm like, okay, we're cooking here. But when he got down to the last day, and I was a big proprietor of get me a striker.
Yeah.
Jackson cannot do it by himself, right? Yes, we saw what he did the previous season, so I was also on board with giving him another season. But don't let this man run it by himself, because I've always said a striker is going to blow hot and cold. The elite ones blow more hot than cold, but there's gonna come a stint where they're just not at it for a few games, and that's where either the team has to step up or you pull him out the firing line.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about how you felt at the time when it went down to the wire with Osimhen and we ultimately didn't get a chance to close the deal.
I mean, it was a mixed bag because at the time I was upset that we couldn't get it across the line. And then at the time, I think it took us all by surprise. It took us all by shock because I believe everyone was saying like we played a chess match and we had him pinned to a corner, essentially. That it was inevitable he was coming to Chelsea. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't come to Chelsea. The deal falls through, collapses on the very last day, on the very last hour. And we're thinking, what has he done? He's ruined his career because he can't go back to Napoli. Napoli don't want him. Conte didn't want him. Napoli already signed Lukaku. They told him, find a different club because you're not going to be the striker for Napoli anymore. And we're thinking, what has he done? And at that time, too, like he threw away the Saudi deal as well. Like that was out the window. So the opportunity to make money and have a fortune of a lifetime was gone. So we figured, okay, that's it. It has to be Chelsea. So when Chelsea didn't happen, I was devastated. And I was also upset and really mad because it seemed from a certain perspective, Osimhen just was stubborn and digging his heels in about his wages. And we heard from Mikel, we heard from different sources. He's a Chelsea fan. He wants Chelsea. He wants to make it work, all this. So if you want to make it work, then why can't we meet in the middle? Then afterwards, you learn about his agent getting involved and all this drama. All the tweets came out afterwards. So it was a mixed bag because at one point, I'm mad at him. And then the other point, I'm like, okay, so someone screwed him over here too as well. Luckily for him, Galatasaray come in and he manages to salvage his season. But it was a mixed bag. And right now we're kind of in a similar circumstance with him. But, we're talking about that the past. And yeah, it was a mixed bag for me. And I do look at the directors. This is one of the biggest criticisms I've had of them is the negotiating skills. The amount we paid for Caicedo and Enzo, and now we're looking and struggling again with Osimhen and getting that done when we really needed that for multiple seasons, not just last summer.
Yeah, and again, we've wanted a striker since Diego Costa left. Mm-hmm. So not having that over the line really, really grieved my soul, for lack of a better term. Robert, Robert, when it comes on to the transfer window, we've had this discussion backstage multiple times in the past. You felt like we did just enough in the transfer window only because there was a lot of question marks still over the squad. Both players coming out, players that were injured, and Jackson needed another season. Can you talk to us about how you felt at that time and why you thought that we did what we had to do at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I've shared with you guys this before. For instance, from the centre back standpoint, like we didn't know what we had in Colwell as a centre back, and we didn't know, like what would have if Fofana would stay fit, the type of player he would be. So it wouldn't have made sense to go and buy centre backs when you still have unknown with two centre backs that you have that whether. I assume the club rate them highly, and that's who we started the league with. Now that you know who they are, now you can make an assessment whether you think they're good enough or not, and then proceed in the next window to make adjustment accordingly. On the Osimhen front, I get it why people wanted Osimhen. I also was in favor of getting Osimhen to be just a different profile. The thing I wasn't in favor with is him coming in automatically say, "Oh, he's gonna bench Jackson," because I thought Jackson deserved another season, and I thought the chemistry that Jackson had built with Cole Palmer and others was quite, just taking that away because Osimhen comes in. Well, I don't think that was gonna be very productive. Also, not forgetting we had Christopher Nkunku, who most of us go into the season rated quite highly and say he can do a job. He can get, double digit 15 to 20 goals going into the season. Now he came to find, the season and unfolded that he down tools, he didn't want to run, didn't want to do much of a work or whatever the case may be. But going to the season, you can just dismiss a player of that quality and say, well, let's just bring Osimhen in. Forget what we have Nkunku on the books, who's we're paying 200 grand a week to already, and bring somebody else that we're gonna pay 200 grand a week to, and then you're gonna have to do what? Fight for squad position? No, and so we cannot, we couldn't overstretch ourselves. As Younes said, we're not Champions League football to start with, but also we had players that there were question marks on. Now we are very clear on who Nkunku is. We are very clear on what we have in Fofana. We are somewhat clear on whether we think Colwill is good enough to take you to the next level. And we are clear on goalkeepers and whatnot. So there's more clarity on the squad overall. And now in this summer, you can make those adjustments accordingly and buy the players that you think are worthy to take you to the next stage based on the information that you've gathered all throughout the season. But I thought we were just in kind of an imperious position last summer where there were still question marks over a lot of players that we just needed to iron out and get answers to before we can make concrete and final adjustment to the squad overall. And I thought we did that last summer.
Most definitely, and I agree. It took me a while to kind of wrap my head around it because in the moment you're like, listen, stop fluffing about. I'm tired because the previous season 12, last season 6. So I'm like, listen, it's my quality. You're a scout for a reason. I'm not a scout. I can give you some names, but are you gonna get it over the line? So looking at the stage we're at now, given that we've completed the season's objectives, which will be the next topic, I can understand that approach. Right? I can understand that approach because that's logical thinking, but this is not how football worked for us in the past. Now, hinting at that topic, this is an objectives. You guys know how I was. I said it's on all you can eat Chelsea. Maresca gets 7 games. 7 games, and then I will turn on you like that. Because we've seen this ownership have gone to Potter. Started with Tuchel, gone to Potter. Frank Lampard's second stint, and then Pochettino. And the ball that he do that came with Tuchel. What's his name? He took over for a short period.
Bruno Saltor.
There we go.
I was going to say, don't disrespect Bruno Saltor. Undefeated manager. Only undefeated manager.
He's unbeaten, man.
Yeah. Bro, I'm trying to take this seriously. Yeah. So we at that time we've gone through a host of manager, and Pochettino was such a cancer in the sense that you started how you started preseason. You made these players focus on fitness, but when the season started, you throw out everything because Nkunku got injured. So Maresca from my end was on the backlash of that, kind of unfairly so. But in my opinion, you have a full preseason. They're going to give you some players. Implement your style of play immediately. I shouldn't be 7-10 games into the Premier League season wondering how you're going to play football.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, that was the first thing I wanted to see from Maresca. And then we saw how it kind of played out in preseason. I'm going to start with the optimistic one on this one. Robert, what were your thoughts around Maresca at the time when we saw how preseason was going?
No, I mean I wasn't tripping in preseason like most people were. I had watched the Leicester, when we played them in the cup game, and how they bopped us around. Like they outplayed us clearly, and we didn't open them up until they went down to 10 men. and we had by far the better player, and they were more organized, they were more threatening than us. And when we said we're linked to Maresca, automatically that game against Leicester came to mind. And I was like, that's him that we're getting. Yeah, he had impressed me for by that one game. And then come preseason, whether we play against Wrexham and drew against Wrexham, and I mean I wasn't like Pochettino impressed all of us in preseason. We were bopping teams in preseason, and come this season we didn't do much. So in this preseason, I was more interested in seeing what the coach is about. And from what I start seeing, you can see he was trying to implement certain things. Like one game we were playing man-to-man approach, and then we tried against Celtics, and Celtics obviously beat us. I wasn't looking at the result. I was looking, okay, versus Wrexham, we did more of an organized pressing. Against Celtics, we went man to man. Against Man City, it was something else. And so it was more of, I was trying to see what this coach was about, and he was trying to implement multiple style and multiple way of playing, which during the season came came to fruition. Like against Villa, we played man to man pressing. We were following Rodgers everywhere, and Cole Wheeler for fun, we were following him everywhere, and we beat them 3-0. You know what I'm saying? And so, in other games, we're implementing an organized press, and it comes to fruition. All in all, what we saw in preseason, what he was trying to do in preseason, he implemented during the league campaign, and we end up having the result that we end up having, and most of us are pleased with the season we had. I wasn't tripping in preseason because I saw what he was trying to do, what he was trying to implement, and the different style that he was trying to the different approaches that he had. And I rate coaches that have different approach. Just so I have this one way of playing, it's high line, and that's the only way I'm gonna play. No, the fact that he was trying to implement various ways of playing, I rated that, and I said, you know what, I like what I see. Even though I wasn't really looking into results, I was looking more of what he's trying to do on the pitch.
Understand. You just talk to me about your thoughts on preseason at the time, because I remember on Twitter, the entire timeline was having a meltdown. Everybody was getting shtick, and I'm like, guys, it's preseason.
Yeah.
If we're not gonna take stock in winning in preseason, why should we just take stock in losing when the coach is new and is trying to implement his system? So, what were your thoughts around the time of preseason and us conceding goals and this, that, and the fourth?
Yeah, at that time during preseason, I remember, funnily enough, I was taking a similar approach. I was sort of looking at it going, okay, we've learned from this historically. Results in preseason don't mean a thing.
No.
Right? Results come when the season starts. Preseason, fitness, patterns of play, positioning, instruction, acclimatization is basically that's the whole point of preseason. So I actually went into preseason with that mindset. I had some optimism in terms of the squad, at least because of the way that we finished the season under Poch, right? And there was that upward trajectory that we took, and I was in those last 10 games, and I was thinking, okay, maybe we're on the way to at least in the right direction. So when preseason started, my only concern at that time was actually Maresca, because I was like, listen, this guy's just come from the championship. We've hired someone from the championship. Like this has not been done. Like this is, like I was saying at the time, this is insane, you know? But you can't really judge on results. So let it play out. When watching preseason though, I was, especially after that Celtic game we got killed 4-1. I'm like,
yeah, that was a bad one.
Look good, guys. This don't look good. Not phased in terms of the results too much, but I was a little bit like, are we going to be ready for the season? Like we've just been kind of battered here. This is not. You don't want this, you know, because at the end of the day, preseason. But at Chelsea, you need to have a certain baseline level.
Certain level.
So this is. I hope this doesn't turn into something. So when the season started, right, just as the season started, and we lost to Man City in that narrow game, I'm like, okay, it's kind of expected, to be fair. But following up a couple of games later where we lost to Servette, that's when I'm like,
I forgot about that.
I started panicking at that point. I'm like, like Servette, guys, this is the Conference League qualifying to Servette, and we lost. Like, what's going on? That's where I started to get, like, let's say, validation on preseason, thinking, are we actually at that level? Have we not improved? My whole thing in preseason was trying to find how well we going to play, which didn't seem clear. And as Robert said, to be fair, if Maresca's trying out multiple different things, it's going to remain unclear. But I had the impression that, okay, as the season starts, we have to be ready. So that's where I took it pretty lightly for preseason. But after that Servette loss, I did start
like,
getting
alarm bells, alarm bells.
I'm going to start hitting the panic button in a bit because this isn't good.
This is good. Yeah, and Marshall, seeing what we saw from preseason and the survey game, and then we look at the schedule. Why do we have Liverpool first? Huh? What did we do? What gods did we piss off? Seeing we have Liverpool as a first game and it's our away game. What were your thoughts going into the Liverpool game and your thoughts on how we played after the Liverpool game?
The Liverpool game in October, right? That's the one you're referring to? Or you're referring to Man City?
Oh, sorry, man.
Man City.
We played City first.
Liverpool was under Poch. The first game under Poch was Liverpool.
Okay,
yeah. The first game under Poch was against Liverpool. And to be fair, we gave him a decent game.
It was City.
Yeah.
City.
Yeah.
Same thing. What gods did we piss off to get City first? Because City just won the league.
Yeah.
City just won the league.
I remember seeing that schedule and thinking like, crap. I mean, what a way to start off the season with a new manager, an inexperienced one too. Like, this is already going to go. I can already hear the fan base. This is going horrible. It's a horrible start. Yeah, it's a tough start for any manager. We could have gotten Luis Enrique and he would have struggled. But against the City side, I was kind of expecting not to win. And I already knew at that time, based off the preseason, that we weren't ready. You look at that preseason, and I made the mistake of the season prior with Pochettino getting excited about the football, getting excited about, look how we're playing. Like, I was at the Brighton game where, Nicholas Jackson linked up with Mudryk, and I was like, he unlocked Mudryk. This is great. I'm all excited about it. And, look at this Jackson kid. He's doing phenomenal. And you saw how the season played out. Obviously, it was treacherous and murky waters throughout. But, after that preseason, I said, you know what? I'm not going to take preseason seriously anymore. And it was hard. It was hard because some of the losses were embarrassing.
You were like,
I was trying after that Celtic game, like Younes said, I was trying really hard to just like, let me not react to this. Let me just, it's preseason. But one thing I noticed during the preseason is the football wasn't bad. We were just, the way we were conceding was silly mistakes. And you could tell it was positioning, it was learning. Like, you could tell the team was trying to learn the system. Even Reece wasn't comfortable inverting. Gusto still isn't comfortable inverting, but that's besides the point. It was just, you could tell like there was like growing pains there. Even in the beginning of the season with how Fofana was playing, I was very critical of Fofana. I was saying like, this guy, I don't know about him.
This man was a wild card for me. Why is he a center? Why is he a center midfielder?
The mistakes he was making, the little things here. Like, I'm surprised we weren't punished more in the beginning of the season, to be honest. But as the season progressed, as the players started to get a little bit more comfortable with the system, and Maresca started to find his better 11, even Enzo Fernandez wasn't playing that well in the beginning. You could tell, okay, this team is starting to gel a little bit. It's starting to get there. I think once we got like 3 wins in a row, I was like, okay, there's something here. I think for me, the win against Wolves, the 6-2 win, that's what I was just like,
about to say that.
Wow. Okay. This is what the team can look like. Let's just see if we can get it to be consistently this, because we know under Pochettino, consistency was an issue because of the mentality of the club. So let's see if we can consistently push that way. And then you saw how the rest of the season played out. But up until about December, you can tell the team was gelling more. They looked like they were adapting more. Again, you look at that Man City game. It was the errors that we made defensively that cost us the game. It wasn't that necessarily we were outplayed.
Yeah. And going back to your point, in the same context in the same breath, Maresca was still trying to figure out the starting 11 because Nkunku played left wing against City. And he likes players, he likes his wingers to isolate players. Another thing as well, for me, under Maresca, how we started the season, it felt like a new nucleus was being made. Yes, we had a very Enzo Fernandez, we have our Caicedo, we have our Palmer, we have Jackson. We have the same players, but they're playing a bit differently. They're playing a whole new system. They have a whole new style of play. What brought it all together for me was that Wolves game, the hat-trick, but Joao Felix's goal. You remember the entire play was perfect, attacking-wise perfect, and I was like, if we play like this, boys, hey, screw top four, title run. I'm calling it now.
Your boy Nani got the hat trick with his weak foot, 2 goals with his weak foot. And that was after everyone was saying, oh, he's going to go to Newcastle. Oh, he's going to go to Newcastle. Has that performance, we're like, oh, maybe he's not going to go to Newcastle.
Exactly. But for me, the goal from Cole Palmer, where Jackson flicked it on and Cole Palmer lobbed it, and the Joao Felix goal, where ball gets played out to Neto, Neto pings it in, Joao Felix steps onto it, and I'm like, we are ruthless today, right? And then Servette happens, but the first team didn't play against Servette. Then we saw the win at Bournemouth, and when we demolished West Ham. When we demolished West Ham, 3-0, where Jackson is scoring goals, the pass from Caicedo in behind, at this point, you know what? I can finally have some chest. You know, we didn't have chest the last 2 previous seasons. We can finally have some chest. The season started to take shape, right? And I go to Younes on this. At that point, even an all you can eat Chelsea, we were kind of like, you know what? Let's not. Maresca, you're cooking something here. It's all you can eat. It's time to eat, you know. At that point, when we started to play the beautiful football and we're defending a bit better at that time, what were you like, and what was your fan base from your channel? How did they receive it, and how did you receive Maresca playing at that time?
No, I remember at that time it was more relief, I guess, that results are coming in, and you can see that the way that the team is playing, right? That there's a foundation built there, right? There's something that's being constructed and constructed well. With the issue we had the prior season with Poch was a lot of the errors that were being made, right? A lot of the damage was self-inflicted. It was just stupidness, right? Defensively. And it was very up and down, very rock and roll, right? As we remember on the pod. So a little bit more structure and a little bit more calm in the way that we move. And it seemed like it was a bit more constructive because of that. So no, there was relief, I think, in the way that we were playing and scoring some goals. You could see that defensively things had picked up a little bit. We were still missing some chances, but we were also scoring a little bit more than what we were anticipated to, at least the season before. So, no, seeing the consistency starting to form was the most important thing. At least it was for me, and at least the feedback from everyone, at least on my channel at that time, it was more a case of we need consistency because we know that we can kill at times, but we know we can be susceptible. We can be exposed. We can leave ourselves open, and it's been going on for too long. Especially when you look at that time, it was 2 years of just up, down, flipping all over the place, and mainly down, right? We needed some sort of consistency because that's the only way you're going to succeed. It started to actually seem like that is what was going on. And the confidence in getting the season's target at that time, because at the start of the season, I made it pretty clear. I would want top 4 and I would want us to win the Conference League, right? And even when, I mean, later on, there was the whole conversation about finishing top 5, might get shut up. I had it nailed, like, no, top 4, because that way it's in our hands. That way it's on our terms, and it's not because of some luck, right? We got kind of lucky towards the end of last season with Poch. We had picked up in form. We just about clinged on and got 6th. I don't want that sort of situation. I would want top 4 with us making sure we got top 4, not because of anyone else. So
Yeah.
that was the confidence starting to build, and us looking like, you know what, we might actually just get Champions League football pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not win the title, of course, but this is looking good. So that was the whole thing. It was more relief of like us starting to see some form of consistency after so long.
Yeah, and to pick up on a point that you made with the previous season, remember we did make Europa League football, but because we didn't take it in our hands soon enough, United took it back out of our hands.
Yeah,
Because when you think about it, we had luck, but not enough luck to stay in Europa League.
exactly.
So coming into the season, my season objective was I wanted, top 4 and Conference League, but I valued the Conference League competition a bit low. So I was saying,
Yeah.
this team with the signings we make, because remember at this time we had two squads basically. I was saying, hey, get me the Carabao Cup. I don't even want an FA Cup. Just get me 2 trophies and top 4, and I get to be shameless. Unfortunately, we'll talk about why that didn't pan out. But Robert, let me go to you. In the same breath, just when things are starting to build, what were your thoughts on Maresca's press conferences at the time? Because, hey, brother came out strong. I'm working with 22 men, 24 at most. These people need to go over to find a club. Going to train the under 21s. Going to clean the bathrooms. Sterling's going to Arsenal. I'm celebrating like a madman. What were your thoughts on Maresca at this time?
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't one of those who overreacted to press conferences from Maresca. Like the ones from Poch, I was like, oh, brother, you're being underwhelming here. I don't like what I'm hearing from you whatsoever. But from
I am not a
Maresca,
clown.
yeah, like Poch was saying stuff in press conference like, oh no, that's just cringe, brother.
Yeah.
But for Maresca, I wasn't paying too much attention unless you say something like, like when he said, top 4 wasn't the objective this year. It was in 2 years. The club told me. I was like, I don't know about that one. That's the only thing. But when he said, we got 23 squad, whatever, I knew already from it was just a media Sky Sports narrative that Chelsea got 40 players. I mean, I know that's not accurate, for sure. And so Maresca saying it is just confirming what I know. Like, I'm not gonna go with what Jimmy Carragher is saying on Sky Sports or what the overall narrative on TalkSport or whatever the case may be. Everybody's doing so that it seems like that's what Maresca was doing all along. It was quashing rumors from Sky Sports about the squad, rumors about ownership civil wars and all that. So it was things that most people in the media was media generated. It wasn't like reality for the club. And he even said it to be at the end. It's like everything that all the noise, it's been outside noise. Like it hasn't been anything inwards that we've been dealing with. Everything's all throughout the season has been, professional. We're building the chemistry, we're building togetherness. We're succeeding together, we win together, or we're losing together. We're learning together, and everything we're doing is together. All the other noises was from outside. And so the media obviously was gonna come and ask about the protests and ask about this and that and this and that, just to dispel the rumors that are out there that were, for the most part, untrue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't very paying much attention to what Maresca was saying in the press conferences because personally, I know we don't have, he's not working with a 42-man squad. I know, the club, Boyle is not going to sell to Clear Lake. Clear Lake is not going to
I remember that one. That was a big one. Ownership rift.
Yeah.
They're about to split apart.
All of that. And having to address all of that. And at the end, it was just, I wasn't paying that much attention, except when he said that we, Champions League is the target in 2 years, not this year. I was like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. But everything else, Maresca in press conference has not been an issue for me. It's not been a serious or even something of something that bothers me whatsoever. I like the way he speaks. I like the way he talks. I like the way he backs himself. He backs the club. Even in the midst of, even when fans were kind of rifting about his style of play, I like the fact that he stood up and said, this is how we play. The fans need to back us because we know what we're doing. And I rate that. And
most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Marshall, at this time around all the noise, Maresca saying what he's saying in the press conference. We as content creators, and we're doing our starting them. We're having a grand time because you know what? Lavia can go there, Joao Felix can go there, Palmer can get a break there. It's only Bournemouth, it's only Crystal Palace. Which Kuku needs game time because I remember when we were having the discussion like, hey, we're doing well. This is the time to integrate these guys because if you don't integrate these guys, people are gonna want to move. Renato Vega needs to get game time. Kukurea suspending Renato Vega should be stepping in against Liverpool. What was it like for you at this time? Because I think this was where we were fairly all happy with how we're progressing. Talk to me about your thoughts on the second squad and the utilization of the second squad and integration of the first into the first team squad.
I remember like what Robert was saying during the press conferences, Maresca saying, no, this isn't my squad. I have 22. What number was it? 21, 22 players?
20,
and that's what I work with or something like that?
24, I think.
Yeah. Some number like that. And I was, in the back of my head, I'm like, all right, Maresca, we know you're lying. We know you have a bloated squad. I was worried that he was going to have the Graham Potter situation again. But luckily, it ended up working out and players found different. I mean, some players did get isolated, unfortunately. But that is besides the point. It ended up not affecting the team. But when I saw that Conference League squad and when I saw it implemented multiple times, a squad and a B squad, I mean, I tried not to look at it that way. I was trying to look at it more like, okay, I think there's a team that is trying to compete for the trophy, and there's a team that's trying to maintain a UCL spot, right? So when I look at it that way, I think it was a good way of looking at it too, that for the players themselves, they didn't feel like they were relegated to a B team or demoted to a B team. And in fact, I felt like it incentivized players to, hey, listen, if you perform in the Conference League team, then that gives me a headache now as the manager or as the head coach to now find a way to implement you into the Premier League team. So I thought it was a great idea in terms of, when you have this big of a squad, everyone gets a good amount of play time, and it gives the younger team or the cup team an incentive to try to perform and impress for the head coach to put you into the Premier League squad. So, as time went on, as we went on to the tournament, we saw how we pretty much, dog walked it. I think the players also noticed that and started to realize like, hey, this isn't like that much of a competition. It's not really challenging me. So then over the course of time, it did start to become more of an A team, B team. But at the time, at the beginning, I was a fan of it. I was like, this is a smart way to manage the team and to manage the squad because you do have a lot of players, despite what you say. And so I thought it was smart. But I mean, at the end of the day, there was some things that I wasn't a fan of with what Maresca was doing. I wasn't a fan of the minutes he was giving Nkunku. I know you mentioned that. I wasn't a fan of the minutes he was giving Nkunku. I wasn't a fan of not trying to give Joao Felix a few more minutes as well. Hindsight's 2020. Now we saw how it played out and why maybe they didn't get those minutes. But I wasn't a fan. I was thinking like, giving Nkunku 15 minutes at least. Why are you giving him 7 minutes, 3 minutes? 5 minutes, like any player is going to be upset with that. And especially considering in the beginning, he was scoring goals. He was doing well for us in Conference League. I think he had, it wasn't the greatest performances, but at the end of the day, he was getting the results. As a striker, you want to get the goals. It doesn't matter if you're playing well. The goals is your job. So, and he was doing that. So I thought, I know you're competing with Jackson. Jackson's doing well at the time, but give him a few minutes to see if he can do something in 20 minutes, 15 minutes. For the Premier League team and see if he's up to scuff for that. But I feel like Maresca didn't give him a fair shot at that. Even Renato Vega. I was surprised when we saw that Liverpool lineup that Renato wasn't at left back. It was Malo Gusto. I know Cucurella was suspended because I think it was a card accumulation.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised that why are you playing Malo Gusto there? Malo Gusto's a right back, and even at right back, he was struggling a bit. Yeah. Why play him at left back? So there was some question marks. It didn't punish us at the time completely, But there were some things that made me raise an eyebrow about how he was managing the squad and the minutes that I thought, and lo and behold, it did become a problem in January that could grow into, player unrest. But overall, like as a majority, as a whole picture, I think the majority of how he managed the squad, especially in the beginning with the Carabao Cup and FA Cup and not the FA Cup, but Carabao Cup and Conference League, I thought it was good.
Most definite, most definite. And at this time, everyone kind of had questions. Because at this time, Reece James was coming back from firstly the suspension and then a minor injury. Because we saw he was able to stay fit the rest of the season once he came back. And
Yeah.
Reece James came back and put out a monster performance, which got us over the line. I don't think it was Newcastle.
I think he debuted against Liverpool.
Yeah, he
and then it
debuted
was
against-
Newcastle afterwards, I think, at center back.
And then we picked up the win against Newcastle. And at this point, we're building momentum because we came off a multiple game winning streak from the FA Cup to the Conference League and multiple game winning streak in the league. Younes, at one point, hey, we're just a chill guy. Yes, I remember the memes. Yes, people, I remember all of it because I was living life as a content creator at that time. I get to smile every day. I was doing match reviews, people, and I wasn't yelling at them the camera. Right? My neighbors were happy with me. Right? So we're doing the chill guy act and we're doing the we're not in a title race act. At this point in time, what was your point? What were your realistic thoughts on the squad? Not the hopium, not the delusion, not the what can be, but at this point, where were you assessing the squad, comparing our league form?
It's mad because I was already of the impression that, especially considering the Victor Osimhen deal, that we weren't ready to go and compete for the title. But that's why my initial aim was get top 4, win the Conference League, because if we don't, that would be embarrassing. But win the Conference League, and then we're good. After that, go in, and the next season has to be a title run. So with that in mind, when we were at that moment and things were flying, I didn't want to jump ahead and go, oh, we're going to win the league. Because you could see that the team wasn't equipped to go the distance with winning the Premier League title. It wasn't realistic. I did start to think maybe a second or a third place finish might happen, because I came into it just thinking, you know what, get 4th, I reckon 4th, because at that time, Man City were champions. I thought they would probably retain. I looked at Arsenal and Liverpool as the other teams that are going to be there. I'm thinking we're not going to come into contention for winning the title. I think at some point we might drop off, but because of how well it's going, Champions League football is looking like it's going to be pretty smooth, right? So that was my whole mindset at that time was, this is great, but to come out and say, yeah, no, we can win the league. Let's go and win the league. I saw other people start to go in that direction just for the sake of mentality, right? Which I get because I've advocated as someone that, look, the standards have to be the standards. We have to hit a bare minimum and set a bar. If not, you're just falling into obscurity, right? You have to hit that bare minimum. But it's also about some realism here. Like, this team's not going to win the Premier League title, brother. It's not.
And
So-
if we did, hey, something's wrong with this league.
Exactly. There's something majorly wrong. So I was a little bit in between here. Like, I'm really happy this is the way it's going. I'm not going to say we're in a title race because we're not. But Champions League football, which was my initial target for the season, is looking pretty smooth. So at that moment, I didn't expect the drop-off in the way that it happened, which we'll talk about. But I didn't expect it to sink in the way that it did for then it to become a question that we were even going to make Champions League. Because in that moment, I was looking and going, yeah, you know what? I think we're going to get Champions League pretty easy. So, yeah, I was happy. Overall, I was content. Seeing the team in that position, I was just calm and going, this is great. But I wasn't going, we can win the league. Let's go and win the title. Or rival fans are now telling us to try and put pressure, going, oh, you're in a title race.
Liverpool.
No, you're in a title race. You got to win the title. It's not. I'm like, no, like, relax.
No, that's not how it works. That's not how that works.
Look at yourselves. You know, Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans
Why?
were guilty of this one. They
Yes.
were the guilty one because they knew their own deficiencies and they were trying to put some of it on us.
Yeah.
Like, no. Look at yourselves. Yeah.
I was going back and forth with the Arsenal fan, and when I said this, he shut him up. I'm like, weren't you there? Huh? Why am I the one that's gonna take up your dirty work? You know, Robert. At this time, this is when me and you started to become friends. At this point, how did it feel about being right? Because at this point, he was right. Come on, guys. At that point in his
Big
life,
time.
he was right. How does it feel at that time?
No, I mean, I was one of the. I was just with my attitude was, hey, everybody, welcome to the train. You know, I'm not. I wasn't gonna be. Oh no, I was right, and all of you guys can. I was like, okay, now we can finally all be positive. Manchester Football Club. You know, I even said that to Matisse one time. I said, Matisse, join. Welcome to the club. We've been expecting you.
Just picturing Robert in a conductor hat. And
I was like, all aboard!
All aboard. We were, you know, I knew you were skeptical about hopping onto this, you know, this train.
Oh,
of,
my days.
the new squad and the new ownership and the new sporting directors. But it seems like now you are softening your stance on the team and the squad a little bit. So, you know, welcome on board and let's all kick together and let's go and support the team. And I mean, at that time, we discussed this. I said, I was of the belief that we were in the title race, not because we were ready, but because no team had impressed me in the Premier League. I thought Arsenal wasn't impressive. City had a fallout. I was like, you know, Liverpool, you know, watching the games, it was Salah or bust. And so I was more of, there's nothing that stops, if we continue the form that we're in, there's nothing that stops us from being within, you know, come March, we are still mathematically, you know, within a shout of winning the league, just because nobody was impressive. Nobody had impressed me. It wasn't that I thought we were ready. It's just the league, nobody was really strong enough that I was like, oh my God, this team is clear head and shoulder above everybody else, you know. And so that was my stance. And it wasn't that about being right. It was more about, hey, you know, let's all band together. Now that we agree that we have a good squad, that we have elite recruitment. Now let's all band together.
Hey. Control the ball game. You're doing too much right there.
I was worried about this.
We're Inter. We're not PSG. We're Inter. You're doing too much in the midfield, brother. Calm it down, please.
Yeah. So that was my attitude. You know, it was more of, okay, now everybody, welcome aboard, and let's go kick on the second half of the season. I wasn't more like, oh no, I was right. I was absolutely right. All of y'all, you know, you were wrong, and then no.
See, and this is why people have problems with you. You say this on the podcast, but you go on Twitter, and it's a whole war over there.
I said this on Twitter. I said, welcome aboard the Clear Lake train. They dubbed me Captain Clear Lake. So now, welcome aboard the Clear Lake boat. And now people get all mad about, oh, no, you're Captain Clear Lake. It's just Twitter, man. It's
just Marshall, at this point, we were running gimmicks. You had me on your channel, and we're like, hey, you asked me the question, arena title race, and I said, my answer was no, but I would like them to operate like we are. Simply just keep that mentality, keep that push, because you never know what could happen. What if Liverpool had gotten that major injury, and we just pick it up and run with it from there, you know? But Maresca came out at the time, started to say, hey, we're not in a title race. Everybody else is running gimmicks. Were you fearing at that time that Maresca saying that could have a negative effect on the squad?
To an extent, yes. I really do think, like, I think at the time, if I remember correctly, I think I was telling people it's very possible that Maresca is coming out in public and saying this, but in the locker room, in the dressing room, he's probably saying, listen, boys, if you keep the right mentality, we could be in this. So keep winning and prove to me and prove to the media that we actually are in this. But don't get too ahead of yourselves. kind of thing. Just kind of trying to keep the mentality level headed as well, because again, looking at the Pochettino season, looking at aspects of this season, even this is a young squad. They can get ahead of themselves, overinflated, and they can drop the levels. And so for me, I thought, and me personally, I was like a Game of Thrones cast. Winter is coming. Winter is coming. December. December is always that month where I'm like, Chelsea, we saw it under Tuchel. We saw it under Lampard. December, for whatever reason, the White Walkers come out and we're not ready. So it's like, I'm just
not ready.
I was worried. I was reserved because everyone was saying, oh, we're in the title race. We're in the title race. And I remember we did the show here with Robert, and I was like, let's wait until we get past December before I can say this. Because right now, December is always one that makes me nervous. Boxing Day, that's always that time of year where Chelsea just we're just gonna lay back and just step out of this title race. But I think Maresca saying what he said in public, maybe he could have probably worded it better. He probably could have said, right now we're more focused on winning as many games as possible. If we end up being in a title race, then we will try to compete for it. But just denying it flat out or saying this team isn't ready, which is another one too. And I think some of us agree too. Like, we didn't think the team was ready, because us as Chelsea fans, I told this to other people that were trying to pressure me to say we're in a title race. I even had Chelsea fans get mad at me because I wouldn't admit we were in a title race. And I would explain to them, like, listen, you see how we look like defensively, and you look at how Liverpool, listen, we as Chelsea fans know Jose, and Jose has ingrained in us as Chelsea fans that defense wins titles. So when I'm looking at how frail we are defensively, I can't sit here with confidence in December and say, like, yeah, we're in the title race. Yeah, we're in the title race. When you have Arsenal and Liverpool ahead of us, well, at the time we were ahead of Arsenal, but Arsenal and Liverpool, who were the favorites at the time, look at how sound they look defensively. I didn't think if we kept up like this, eventually the goals are going to dry up. If we can't win a game 1-0, what makes you think we're going to win a title? Like, we're not going to win all these games 3-2, 3-1, 5-3. Like, I couldn't sit there and say we were in a title race. So I do remember having that argument with people at the time, even with my own fan base, and just saying, like, listen, let's get past December. Maresca, say what you say in the locker room, keep the mentality, keep it going, but prove to us that, you're just saying this because this is maybe something that you don't want to inflate the egos of the players.
Most definitely. Because I remember at that time, I was level-headed. But Don, you sold me a dream.
That
bro.
Don.
You sold me a dream. Every day, boys, I can smell blood in the water. Look at City. They're falling off. Look at Arsenal. They're not going to strike her, bro. Don sold me a dream.
It's all
But
Don's
to be
fault.
fair.
It's all Don's fault.
It's all Don's fault. We're going to blame the entire season on Don. Everybody, go over to his channel, Don CFC. We're blaming it on Don. But at the time, he was right. My issue was, because I've been burnt by this team in the last 2 seasons, I cannot trust us to take advantage. Because if we really look at the season that just happened, there's so many games where our rivals drop points, where if we had won, got that extra goal, kept that clean sheet, we would be miles clear. Maybe even in that title race. But Younes, coming up, and we're going to wrap up soon, coming up, fuck with part 1, coming up, December time, 2 points off Liverpool. We're ready. We're running the gimmick, and we take a look at the list of the games we have to play. And I will pull it up. Let me reiterate, because we need to feel the pain again.
No!
We need to feel this pain. At this time, we had defeated Aston Villa, we had demolished Southampton, and we had that 3-4 comeback at Spurs. We're on a high, second in the table, right? Looking at the fixture list, we had Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich. It continues. Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves, and the biggest game that we would have had to play at the time was Manchester City. Now, with done in this year, and the fixture list in this year. How could I not feel confident? You say, hey, boys, hey, going for a title race. Talk to me how you felt at the time with those two things, with those two scenarios.
But that fixture list takes me back, man, because when I was looking at that, and there was the whole title talk, right? I remember explicitly looking and going in the back of my head. I'm like,
you know what?
I'm like, there's a possibility we might do something here, you know, like because the fixture list is look. You read out those teams, you think, yeah, come on, there's a win there, there's a win there, there's a win there. There might be a draw, there's a win there. We might lose one, but in the back of my head, that was why I was like, okay, stay calm. It's been going good up until now, but that's why I said. I remember saying this numerous times when there was some people talking about winning the title. I said, you know what? I'm not going to entertain the title talk unless this goes on till March. So if we get through that fixture list, like you just mentioned, we get to March and we're in the same position. At that point, we're obligated to talk about a title race. Like you can't deny it anymore. That's just the truth. If you're still there and there's not long to go, well, cool. We might as well go all the way then. But I was like, give it till March. But I'll be honest, deep down, I wasn't expecting the dip off in those games, like you just read. No way did I see that one coming. Like I honestly thought it wouldn't be easy. I don't want to say easy because that's not the case in the Premier League. You're going to have some stumbling blocks, but you could not have had a better fixture list. You just couldn't. That's how I was looking at it. You could not have had a better fixture list. And then, what transpired. But at that moment, I was like, just keep calm and carry on, basically, in good old British fashion.
Yeah, and we'll dissect that. We'll dissect that entire block in a different episode. But let me get
I'll let
Roberts.
Miz go crazy on that instead.
Yeah, we'll let Miz go.
Yeah.
You know, I'll let him handle that.
Oh boy,
Robert, talk to me about we seeing that fixture list because I think you and I we had almost the exact same prediction because I was like Everton dub. I was checking the wins of them, and then I'm like, and the only thing that upset me, it's me, so I have to say it. We drew against United, nearly sent me to left field, but cool. We moved past it. But seeing that fixture list, Robert, talk to me. What were you thinking at the time?
Yeah, that's exactly what gave me confidence to say we are in the title race because we had that fixture list. Like if we had Liverpool and Newcastle, if we had like our last 5 games during that stretch, there's no way I would have said we were in the title race. Like if we had Forest and Newcastle and Liverpool and Man United and Everton, I would have never said we're in the title race. But we had Ipswich and we had Fulham and we had Bournemouth and we had City, who everybody had been like, even Tottenham had beaten City at that point. So you were putting City in the category of the Wolves and all these teams. And so I'm like, there's no way I would have seen Cole Palmer going 14 games without scoring, Jackson going 16 games without scoring, and all of this. Like at least I was like, Nkunku is gonna bag a hat trick in one of these games.
Yeah.
But and then I think when I stopped saying that was when we lost to Ipswich. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, especially and then it was mostly was due to, as we said, our defense is due to individual mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like
most definitely
against Fulham, like Cole Palmer received the ball in the middle of the pitch and then dwell a little bit on it and then get robbed and it's a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Miss. I'm gonna let Miss handle that, right?
But I'm saying overall, looking at the position we were in and the fixture list for our next, 6 or 7 games, I was confident like we're getting at least 5 wins, 5 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, and we'll be firmly in a good position going to February when we start playing again twice a week, back in the Conference League. So it was obviously the things that transpired in the second half. Obviously, none of us could foresee them, but where we were positioned in December, how we'd been playing, the form we've been carrying out, and the fixture list that we had, and it was yeah, I was riding high in confidence at that time.
I concur. Marshall, at that time, I know you were like, hey, winter's coming, winter's coming. Every time you said that, I would say, do you see the fixture list we have? And that would kind of, and then you were like, no, Javon, I'm tired of this. Every year, it's the same thing. And I'm like, Marshall, do you see our fixture list? And you said, I think, if I remember correctly, Everton was your only white whale where you're like, I'm touch and go with Everton, but everything else, you were like, I expect a win here. Tell us what was going on at that time.
So I think part of my reservations was the fact that I thought it was good that we didn't lose outside of Liverpool. I think we didn't lose against we beat Villa. We didn't lose against Arsenal, and
Draw.
we drew against United. The United draw, very much like you, rubbed me the wrong way because it wasn't that long ago, like actually the week of, where we lost and got eliminated from the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, if you're doing this because you want to save your players and save your energy for United, fine. What happens against United? We drew.
And this is a United, by the way, that sacked Ten Hag.
Yeah, it was with Van Nistelrooy, and so I was peeved about that. But at the time, I was thinking, okay, let's see how he makes up for it. We win 5 games in a row in the Prem. 5 games in a row in the Prem. And I'm like, okay, this is great. This is great. I don't even think Poch did that. I think Poch did that at the end, maybe. But I was like, okay, this is good. This is progress. Like, in order for me to see a team that's gonna, compete, you need to go in those mad runs that we've seen Arsenal do, that we've seen Liverpool do, that we've seen Man City do in the past. So maybe this could be the beginning of something. So let's see. After Everton, maybe I can start to believe, because Everton, low block, Sean Dyche, I think, was still there at the time. Let's see how we react, because defensively they weren't bad. So let's just see how we react. We get the draw. And I'm thinking, okay, well, there's that blip I was talking about. Then Fulham happens. And the Fulham one, I didn't feel so good about them. I was like, okay, a hiccup. Once Ipswich happened, I was like, okay, so I was right. I'm not happy about being right. But dang it, here we are. And we're not in a title race like I told you guys. Everyone that was yelling at me, shame on you. I told you guys. Damn it. But it was disappointing. It was very disappointing because, like Robert said, none of us here expected Cole to go, what was it, 14 games or whatever without a goal? Like, that was shocking in itself. The fall off from Jackson, like, okay, Jackson not scoring goals, whatever. That is what it is. But even the performances.
Yeah, the hold up play, everything was bad.
Even the performances were bad. And it was like, I think it was a Crystal Palace game where I'm thinking, Guiu came on a little too late, and I'm thinking, okay, just hold on to a 1-0 victory. Please. And then we couldn't do it. Last minute, we concede the goal, and it's a draw against Crystal Palace again. And I'm thinking, okay, this team, man, like, this is what I mean. Like, when we can't be resolute defensively and win out games, because we were scoring goals. We were just conceding too many.
And that's
exactly what I predicted.
And I have a very key point to talk about that. But you guys are just gonna have to tune in for the next episode of the Sideline View of the season review, and that will be part 2, because that's going to take at least 15 to 30 minutes to dissect, because Colwell, Fofana, Tosin, we're going to have some words, okay? Because you guys single-handedly derailed our season, and Maresca, that miss coming for you. But before we wrap up, Younes, thank you for joining us. Let the guys know where they can find you.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you for having me on. Been a pleasure. Marshall, Robert, thank you for having me as well, man. And you can find me Younes Talks Football. There's tons of content dropping there as well. And now that the season is done, but we've got the Club World Cup around the corner, there'll be loads in terms of that too. So bring it on.
Marshall, that was a pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Eunice, thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure to talk to you. You can find me on Casually FC. I will be going to, I think, at least 2 of the 3 group stages for Club World Cup, so I'll probably be doing some vlogs for that. Big up Olivier Giroud, LAFC. They qualified, and we're going to be their first match, so reunited, and it feels so good. But I'm sorry, you're going to have to hold that L at Club World Cup. But yeah, check me out on Twitter, Casually FC, YouTube, Casually FC. We do live streams twice a week. We're going to be going over a lot of the the Twitter news and all that stuff, the transfer news and all that.
Yep. And Robert, let them know where they can find you on Twitter and watch you rattle some souls.
Yeah, man. I'm on Twitter. I don't, contrary to popular belief, I don't rattle any souls.
You said that you did that here. That's
Yeah, you
why
said
I'm
it
saying
yourself.
that.
There's receipts.
There's
I
receipts, bro.
I just think souls get rattled by my opinions, and it is what it is. And so yeah, come find me on Twitter, and again, Younes, pleasure meeting you and chatting with you for the very first time. It seems like we agreed on Twitter recently for the very first time. I don't remember what it was about, but
I actually checked.
It's a new dawn.
It was about you thinking that there might be a striker that no one's talking about.
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah.
that could happen. So yeah.
Yeah. See, yeah, it's a new dawn in the Jesse
All aboard
fan base.
the Robert train.
It's a new dawn in the Chelsea fan base. I went to Matisse's house, drank some tea. Younes and I are agreeing on things. Hopefully Mies and I will agree on a few things next time around. And we can all just get along. It is what it is.
Welcome to the train. Welcome to the train. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for joining us. Please remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, and up the Chelsea. Peace.